Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satiguru Pranatoshmaham Om Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. Verse 31st. So the previous verse was very, very beautiful. I don't want to go back there, but I have to say that was very nice. And verse 31st is an unfoldment of what was seen before. No? The previous verse he made. Now, this one is the one that he makes a very important statement, which is a promise to Arjuna. No? So Arjuna, if you become you become a noble soul, and you attain lasting peace. Yeah? Because my devotees never fall, never perishes. So if you become a real highly devotee, bhakta, someone who is absolutely into understanding the nature of God as a creator, Saguna God. So if you become such a noble soul, a noble devotee, you are going to have a lasting peace experience in your mind, because you understood that the nature of God is something that pacifies the mind to the extent that I understand my relationship with the Creator and I conform to the laws and principles structuring and sustaining the field of life, the field of interaction. So I'm going to be pacified by understanding how to behave, how to conduct my life, because I'm dealing with the Dharma field, which is an expression of Ishvara, and I need to understand Ishvara in order to navigate without creating conflict, friction, which brings about pain, suffering, grief, and so on. So that is the promise that Krishna ji says. And Swami ji emphasizes in a way, the person who turns towards the Lord for help will never regret. That's what the message is. I know it is difficult at the beginning because we live in materialistic societies. But the moment you understand that materialism and the idea that I can be happy by myself, within myself, because I'm a go-getter. So once you understand the impossibility of being happy without understanding God as the laws of karma, among most, once I understand that, the promise is you're going to achieve this peace, that lasting peace, permanent peace, well-resolved peace, by understand the nature of this relationship. And you're going to become a Dharma Pradhana person. So you will never, Dharma is nothing but the laws and principles that structure the field. So I understood, I live, I see, I develop certain qualities, certain sensibilities, I developed love and empathy even towards the orange man, compassion, and so on. So will soon become such a person, such a sensible dharmic person, Dharma Atma. Dharma Atma. Atma means mind, or we can read it. You're gonna live a life totally. How you say, turn towards the observance of Dharma and Atma, meaning to say Atmayana, moksha, Dharma, moksha. So you're going to become, the moment that you understand and you're going to follow Dharma, soon you're going to follow moksha as well. So Dharma Atma means a person whose mind values Dharma more than Artha Karma. So we have Artha Karma, Dharma, and then Dharma is in between so that we can develop the desire for self-knowledge and moksha. Until then, the person was only considering the pursuits of artha and kama, money, pleasures, entertainment, success. Soon he becomes more mature and grows out of artha kama and so on. So again, we should never think that we have to neglect the needs, the physical material needs, and once in a while, a little bit of entertainment does not hurt as well, as long as it is moderate and it is a good entertainment. But such a person is moderate. So again, Son presents the example of the white rice and the pickle. So you have to use the pickle uh, with moderation. Yeah? Otherwise, you're gonna get sick. Yeah? So entertainment is like a pickle. It gives you a sense of satisfaction, happiness, a good laughter here and there, a good entertainment. But if you start adding too much pickle to the rice, you get sick. So you can get sick if you get too much involved with entertainment in the same way. Huh? So we have here the rice and the pickle. There is nothing wrong. Similarly, artha kama should not be the primary goal. They should be only uh, like they should be like pickle, but the main pursuit in life should be dharma and moksha. Dharma, he says here, Dharma, what it means, values and moksha. Okay, so this Dharma Atma here means to say you turn to Dharma moksha. Dharma is nothing but higher values, values that often is presented as the spiritual commandments of God, religious commandments coming from God. You know how to behave, how to conduct a life, in observance of God's laws and principles. Those are values they are also used. They are represented by this word values and moksha. Krishna says, Kishpram, before before long, the person will transcend the need for artha kama, and it's going to gradually develop a desire for dharma and moksha. Okay, so dharmatima means jinyasu, jinyasu. Can you tell me this word? Can you spell it, pronounce?
My pronunciation, Jignasu.
Jinyasu. Okay, dharma atma means jinyasu, bhakta, the one who uses devotion for inner growth, spiritual development. So once he has become Jinyasu, Bhakta, the next step is what? He wants to become Mumukshutva, yeah? To keep it in simple words, Ayani Bhakta. Yeah? So before we are using, we as good Karma yogis, we want what? We want spiritual purification, refinement, inner growth. Huh? And then once we develop this preparedness, these qualifications, and then what is the next desire that comes to one's mind? Now, I want to have self-knowledge. I want to have moksha. Huh? That's the natural next step, next stage. A devotee who is interested in knowing the nature of God is Ishwara, Yanan, Ishavan, Bhakta. So it is a Bhakta who wants to understand more and more and worship more and more God, the Creator, but as Saguna God, because it's Saguna God is what we need to understand to begin with if we want to live a pacified, happy, and life. So we need to understand Saguna God for the. No, I want to understand this Nirguna God. It's okay. Go for it. If you go direct to that, you may get some understanding here and there, but then you may not enjoy your life because you did not understand the Saguna nature of Brahman. You did not understand the gunas of Maya, Ishvara, which come together to produce the creator. So if you don't understand Saguna Ishvara, you're gonna have some trouble. So this is the next natural step. You want to know the nature of God. What is this God? Why? Because the scriptures gives us some promises, which is the only source of security, peace, and satisfaction. No, that's the background. So the only source of peace, security, and satisfaction you find in understanding the nature of God and developing an emotion or a devotional emotion, of reverence and dedication and gratitude, and giving back to God something in return. So once you understood that that's the way to go, and then you read like the previous verse was talking, you read a saint-like individual because you have made a resolve that redirect your life towards God. You remember? So now you are a saint. You are as good because you made a resolve. It doesn't matter your past, how many Adamic actions you did. So that is the notion here. Therefore, understand the nature of God, the nature of Saguna God, uh, because you heard from the scripture that it is the only way to experience shanti, peace, security. We call it God in religion terms. In a philosophical term, we call it Brahman. Brahman is synonymous of what? Of Nirguna, God, and Ishvara means to say Saguna, God. Okay. Once I know that I am interested in knowing Nirguna, God, Nirguna Brahman, or Brahman, I became a highly evolved bhakta, jinyasa. So, and once I have that sincere desire, Krishna tells it. It's going to tell it in the 10th chapter. Just as when the flowers bloom from somewhere, what comes? The bee comes. Flowers need not send postcards to the bees. Please come. Now, once it bloomed, naturally the bees will come. Similarly, you bloom into a sadhana katustaya sampana. You bloom into a highly qualified nididhyasaka or mumukshutva. Yeah? Gurus will come in search of you. This is very nice. It's said on the next chapter. Gurus will make themselves available to you. Krishna tells this clearly stated in the 10th chapter. Bhagwan's law is any genuine desire should be fulfilled. So therefore, we need to be careful with what we desire, right? So if you have a search for as a nature desires, Bhagwan will provide water for you. If you have a desire for certain mystical or epiphanies, Bhagwan will provide sooner or later that desires will fulfill that desire to you. If it's hunger, Bhagwan brings about food. If you have problem with oxygen, so I mean, start saying that we are polluting even the air nowadays, but let's not go there. Bhagwan has to provide the air and somehow find a way to protect the quality of our air. Similarly, if you have a thirst for, you see, the thirst is for God. No, it's for Ishwara Yana. Okay? So it is, I have stopped using the term self-knowledge, self-knowledge, self-knowledge. I have been using spiritual knowledge because spiritual knowledge begins from Ishwara Yana and then in the Brahman Yana, Atma Yana. Okay, Ishwara Yana and Brahma Yana or Atma Yana. So you have to understand, if you have a thirst to understand Saguna Ishwara, Bhagwan is going to provide you with a guru. Therefore, Krishna says, the scripture will come, guru will follow, good, calm conditions, for learning will follow, and then Brahman Yana, Shwara Yana will come, and then later on, Nirguna Brahman Yana, Brahma Yana, Atma Yana will come as well, to the degree that you are converting to a yani bhakta, not only uh, uh, what is the other expression? Is Jinyasa bhakta. You're going to be elevated to yana bhakta. No? Oh, now I lost where I was. You become, thus Krishna says, that the moment you become a yani bhakta, you are said to be much wiser, a wise person, and that is a fact. The way you become wise is something very, very interesting to see, because this wisdom is wisdom in respect to the true nature of reality. So one thing is, now I know what I am, and I know what everything is. Fundamentally, everything is consciousness, and but that does not make a person knowledgeable in all fields of knowledge, But this Atma Yana, this Atma wisdom, the understanding of the true nature of everything as Nirguna Atma, right? Nirguna existence, Nirguna consciousness. It makes the person not knowledgeable on all fields of life, but makes the mind of the person who knows the true nature of reality much more insightful into many other different fields. And the best example we can look into is what happened to Nisargadatta Maharaj. He had almost no formal education, and somehow self-knowledge did something to his mind that he had good insights on any other subject, because people from all kinds of fields of knowledge came to visit him, and they were all impressed with his insights, considering he had no formal education. It's just the mind becomes more sattvic, more insightful. There is not as much Rajoguna and Tamoguna obfuscating the mind. The mind becomes more shiny, more brilliant. And then, okay, I'm going to be said to be a wise person. So the wisdom is the wisdom in regards to my true nature, the nature of Saguna Ishwara as well, in the way that even though I know my true nature, which is the same nature of Saguna Ishwara, which is basically Nirguna Brahman, so I need to know the apparent nature of Saguna Ishwara, meaning to say the laws and principles of Saguna Ishwara, fundamentally the law of causality. So I need to understand Sagunishwara. This wisdom will give him a possibility to understand God, Saguna God, and then by that develop further refinement and purification so that I understand Nirguna Atma as the true nature of Saguna Ishwara and my very nature as Jiva Atma. So what I get when I understand all of that, what I get, okay, so you get a more clear, a more brilliant mind, definitely. You get a certain peace for understanding the laws of Saguneshwara, and you get even a more dense, more established, well-established peace by understand that all there is consciousness, okay? So what you get. So basically, Swamiji says, it's going to be the end of grief, the end of suffering. It's a huge promise that appears in the scriptures of Vedanta, Vedic scriptures and Vedanta, Gita. And that's what Swamiji is going to emphasize big time now. Krishna says, if you purify and elevate yourself to become a great bhakta, you attain peace of mind. It's not a momentary fleeting peace, but it is a lasting peace of mind. Overall, the mind is pacified by the means of Atmayana or Ishwarayana. This peace which will not be disturbed by the disturbance which are unavoidable in life. So the setup of our field of experience is all the time changing, sometimes changing for worse and even more worse, as we see nowadays, wars and everything. And in spite of the condition of the setup of life, you have such a mindset. It was so pacified by the means of yana that your peace remains in spite of all this disturbance. Krishna thinks whether Nagarjuna will accept. Then Krishna thinks, well, I'm not sure Arjuna will accept this promise of mine. He may think that it's just a blind promise, a wishful thinking or something like that. It's not true. It's impossible. Krishna therefore gives a promise, a very important quote, often quoted line. He says, Arjuna, take my promise, and not only you should take this promise from me, but you have to pass this promise to other people because that is the only solution for the problems on a collective level humanity is experiencing in life. Is to turn oneself towards God, make an effort to try to understand God, to surrender to God by understanding that you cannot override God's laws and principles. So, and if you do that, you're going to find the peace and happiness and satisfaction that you are trying to gain in the world, in the philosophy of materialism, Therefore, Krishna says, publicize this, talk to people about this, share this knowledge, share this promise, and tell people that it is already impacting you in a positive way. So you need to publicize. This is the promise. A promise is that it delivers always, and we need you to publicize this. What is the promise? My devotees, it says in the very end of that verse, they never fall. There is never, how did he put here? Yes, never perish. They never collapse. They never fall. They are never destroyed. What you gain as spiritual elevation is never lost. And once you have self-knowledge, the promise is even more solid, that is not subject to forgetfulness. Therefore, your mind is attaining that lasting peace that most people do not understand. How can you be peaceful just by knowing something that is intangible because it's not an object of knowledge? So you never have a spiritual fall. Spiritually, there is no fall for someone who develops in a spiritual life and inner growth, spiritually speaking, So, or religiously speaking, religiously means to say you need to understand Saguna Ishvara, and then you're going to have this religious knowledge, Ishvara Jnana, that is going to pacify your mind big time. And then you may go for the knowledge in respect to the true nature of Saguna Ishvara, which is the spirit, which is the self, the Atma, Nirguna, free from the gunas of Maya. So once you, in any case, either you get the knowledge of Ishvara, you are getting a spiritual development that is not lost. There is no way to go back. When you get self-knowledge and then the game is over, so say the scriptures. But that does not stop you from having to experience the ups and downs of life. They will come. Prarabdha is designed in a way that it will manifest regardless of your transformation or no transformation. Prarabdha will always come. The system all delivers whatsoever is built into the system. But there is no question of falling spiritually. Only higher and higher and higher. Therefore, be a devotee and grow as a devotee. This is a promise. Become a devotee. Very, very beautiful. And here there is a little controversial quote in this next verse. Let's see if the Swami is going to elaborate that. Or Arjuna, even a woman or Sudras or those who are sinful, they are born in sin, they attain the supreme goal if they turn themselves towards me, redirect their lives, and take refuge in the knowledge of my true nature. So the controversial element here, as we know, is the thing about woman. I'm not going to say anything. Let's say, because I haven't got the time to read beyond this verse. Now I read a little bit more, but I did not see yet Swamiji making any addressing this thing of woman. Okay, so it's no problem with woman itself, but maybe on those days culture was making was preventing woman from learning anything, even the scripture. So Krishna wants to point out that even those people who are in a disadvantage, like handicapped people, they can become devotees and they are going to attain liberation sooner or later. Disadvantaged people also can take to bhakti and attain liberation. So any handicapped people, emotional handicap, intellectual handicap, those are disadvantaged physically, mentally, emotionally, intellectually. The person may be a little bit undeveloped, let's say. There is an environmental handicap, parent handicap. What is parent handicap? You were born in a family of people who are atheists and highly materialistic and environmental. So you may be born in a situation that there are wars all around. That is a huge handicap. It's Parabada. Imagine even a Prahalada, who is born in Hiranyakasipu. It is an Asura who never had any devotion. In fact, he says, never say Narayana, only say Nashikya, So this is a concept that I never understood, but I heard him say sometimes in the past. There is this entity or Narayana Baba that was so atheist that even certain mantras he would repeat differently. But through devotion, one may get there in any case, regardless of one's handicap or adversities or unfavorable circumstance. Therefore, Krishna says, Partha, hey Arjuna, even the most disadvantaged people with people with a lot of spiritual obstacles. So even those disadvantaged people attain the highest goal of liberation. In the moment they turn their mind towards me and develop a true desire to understand the nature of God, that is a certain end result. In due time, they will attain liberation. So instead of depend on themselves alone, they depend on others and themselves. In the beginning, people say, no, I depend on many things and many people around me. And then comes a point that some materialist people say, they say, no, I don't depend on anybody. Okay. I'm so strong that I'm independent of everybody. So the scriptures say you transfer your dependence from people, place, and things to God. So if you go beyond that arrogance or vanity, say I don't depend on anything or anybody, so much less on a God that I believe is a fiction. So even people who live at that level of materialism, they will not be able to make up, but they have done intelligent thing. But so if I cannot walk by myself, what to do? So say walking stick, use a crutch. Similar, these people depend upon me. So in the beginning, people they may feel like, I don't want to depend on anybody or anything. I'm gonna live alone and just do what I want whenever I want. And people may feel proud about that. But the idea is for as long as one needs how you call a stick, a walking stick, it's okay. But it has to be dropped sooner or later. And then you go for a higher walking stick, which is depending on God. And then later on, you no longer depend on God because you understood your very nature as the very nature of God. So these people will sooner or later change their walking sticks until they depend upon me. So that's the way to go. Shankara once wrote a set of verses. Shankaracharya did not have any disadvantage. He did have a purva, janima, punya. So such a highly elevated soul could be only born in the most perfect condition to blossom, yeah, in this lifetime. So he's an example of that kind of spiritual punya. Everything, the entire circumstance around him were ideal. He knew that not everybody was so fortunate as him. Therefore, he wrote many uh, stotras. Stotras, you remember? I forgot what it means.
It's a hymn, and in this case, it's a hymn to take God for God to take you by the hand and support you.
Beautiful. So therefore, he wrote many hymns. No? And one beautiful one is what? Taking to even those advanced people attain better. So I take God's offer, which God is standing or offering a hand to us. And for those who can understand the advantage of taking that invitation, they will lead liberation sooner or later. Yeah? And the question is, who are the disadvantaged people? Krishna wants to give 4 samples. I will give you the running meaning. Do not get angry with me. Later, I will explain. This is a controversial line. They will think about woman. The first disadvantaged people is woman. Now, is your Naya, people who are sinful by birth, people who do not have a conductive atmosphere for spirituality. They are born in a terrible environment, Adamic people, atheists, and even violent people sometimes. The ideal example being Prahlada himself. The family advantage was not there, much on the contrary. In spite, in, having a spiritual family. In spite, having a spiritual family is a very, very big advantage. Otherwise, for a child, it is like a huge, very, very, how you say, uh, uphill mountain to climb. You know, it or our swimming against the current of a river. So if you are born in a spiritual environment of dharmic people, religious people, you're going to be imbibed in that atmosphere from childhood, and that makes things much easier. In fact, we say that the scriptures say that even from pregnancy, the child imbibes in whatsoever trait is waiting for him in his own family. So imagine the parents of Nastikas, these atheists. So that becomes a huge obstacle. So, but the question is why I was born in that family. So it's such some papa means to say you have to do some work to overcome those papas. You need to prove your merits in this lifetime and give you some spiritual vasanas, some advantage, but at the same time, I'm putting you in a family of people, fundamentally good people, but with no religious inclination. I'm exemplifying using my own situation. So you have some papa, you have some punya. So now go then see what you can do with it. This is the first example. People who do not find a conducive atmosphere for spiritual development. And the second example means woman. I'm not saying that it's papa karma to be born as a woman. It should not be taken that way. Papa Yonaya is one set of people who do not have conducive atmosphere. That's over. Okay, ladies, careful. And the next group is woman, this second set of the advantage, people naturally, the disadvantage, I will tell later, and then he will forget and he will never touch that subject again. So he skipped that, and then he said the next group means Vaisyaha means from the Brahmana, the group Sudra. Is these four disadvantaged people in the sense that they have to do ethic, they have to swim against the current. He did not elaborate, and I don't know all this, the meaning of all these Sanskrit words to understand the let's see if he elaborates a little bit below here. Krishna enumerates this situation. The first thing we should understand is Vedanta primarily a pursuit of spiritual religious wisdom, or wisdom, and wisdom is something which connects to with your mind and intellect. Okay, so are those other aspects, okay, that those are mental, emotional, physical, and environmental obstacles that may prevent you from developing spiritually. So wisdom is connected with your intellect. It is connected with sukshma, subtle body or mind. It has nothing to do with the physical body. Physical body does not gain knowledge. Therefore, whenever we are talking about qualifications or disqualification, we are not bothered about the physical personality, but the mental, emotional, intellectual one. Physical personality has very little to do with self-knowledge or mental personality. So that's why in Tattva Bodha, when we talked about qualifications, we did not talk about height. That's very good point, huh? Simple. We did not talk about height, color of skin, weight, female, male, gender. It was only said sadhana tatustaya sampati. The qualifications are connected with what? With your mental, emotional, intellectual condition. We should remember that it has nothing to do with the physical body, physical stritvam, physical vaisa, or physical. So can you tell me the distinction between these three examples, please?
It has nothing to do with the physicality of a woman, the physicality of the merchant class or the servant class.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. So there are, yeah, definitely. Yeah. We should remember it has nothing to do any of these physical aspects of people. So Krishna talk about three types of inner personality. We are not talking about whether a person is a woman or man, but it has a female or male, mind, let's say. Then we have to find out what type of personality is meant by Stri. What is Stri?
That's the reference to the female gender.
Male. Oh yeah, Striyaha.
Yeah.
What type of personality is meant by Vaitsya, and what type of personality is meant by Sudra? Okay, that's interesting conversation here, so I'm looking forward to it. I will use the word svabhava, stritvam. Three combinations of words here. He's not called Shahira of one of those three categories. It's not the body of a woman, the body of a merchant, and the body of a labor, or how you say, a labor, a simple, how you say, merchant and
Servant class or
servant.
labor is,
Yeah.
yeah.
we are not bothered about this physical aspect. We want to see the mentality of those three kinds of physical bodies. Now, generally speaking, it refers to an overwhelming emotional personality. So, Svabhava Stritvam, that's interesting. He says like a person associated with a physical body, which is female, is usually uh, tendentially emotionally overwhelmed. You know, the personality is more emotional, and we have seen that this kind of it's easy to observe that the women are more emotional. And a personality which is too emotional, it represents an obstruction to rational viveka, rational thinking, rational discrimination. A personality in whom emotions dominates over reason, dominates over jnanam, yeah? Because according to the scriptures, vijnana maya kosha, or the rational process thinking of the human being, sorry, the rational thinking of a human being should have control over our emotions. So that much we can clearly agree and understand that the intellect is the highest uh, function. You know, I mean, it's our supreme uh, supreme court decision. Let's say, you know, we don't want to make any emotional decisions or reasoning, which is too how do you say uh, influenced by our emotions. Otherwise, emotions are going to control our reason. Such an emotional personality will have a lot of problems with the Vedantic process. Okay. So this is already a better argument, you know? It's nothing to do by a certain kind of personality. And it's so nicely, most probably, some Shankaracharya brought it into the our Sampradaya explaining that. So that is what is the primary problem. Emotional personality always values personal relationships and ends with more attachment than an intellectual person. An intellectual person may get more attachment to knowledge, concepts, notions. It wants to be personally associated with other people. Once you have someone to love and be loved, there must be someone next to it. So that they say, my husband, my wife, I love you, please tell me I love you too. So this is an emotional need. Whereas in Vedanta, we talk about growing out of association and much more growing out of attachments. We want to come to this knowledge, which is the nature of the Nirguna Atma, which is free from attachments and dependencies. It is asambham, purna. So it's a good reasoning, yeah? What do you think?
Yeah, I know many, well, I know men who have that emotional personality and women who do not.
Yeah,
So we're really just talking about the
yeah,
inner equipment.
very nice. So there is a Swami brought here a verse from somewhere, which you have it?
Sorry. The verse says, I do not have death or doubt, nor do I have any caste differences in me. There is no father, mother, or birth for me. There is no student, no teacher, no relative, and no friend for me. I am the limitless consciousness and pure self.
That's so beautiful. Can I ask you again to share it with us in our group, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I am beyond all association because association means bondage. Therefore, Vedanta requires transcending association or attachment to people, place, and things. Sangha. And an emotional mind clings to a Sangha on different levels, appealing a sense of belonging to a group. A person with this female kind of emotional personality clings to associations. Therefore, such an emotional mind, even if it renounces all the worldly associations, it will hold on to Guru, it will hold on to God, and never move past being a niskama bhakta, let's say. So that's very nicely put. An emotional mind clings to Sangha. Therefore, such an emotional mind, even if it managed to renounce all worldly Sangha, it remains very tightly attached and dependent to a guru. So now the guru will become the physical source of security to such a female personality. That is equally dangerous. And here Swami is saying that it's dangerous to be attached to a guru, a Vedantic guru, a guru in our Sampradaya is dangerous to remain attached. It's equally what to say about all these fake gurus all over the place, or these leading error gurus. It's equally dangerous. Guru will have a problem, and now he's going to play a joke. You will have a problem, but Father Guru will have a big problem. When he comes to God, an emotional mind always wants a personal God. I came to God, I want a personal God. That is what distinguishes the people in the West from the East. In the East, people get attached to all these deities, these Ishta-devatas. They develop devotion. And they get attached to their Ishta-devata. And that's my observation, and I have spoken to that in the past. But in the West, there is no culture, a Vedic culture. There are no Ishta-devatas, okay? And then they get attached to gurus, Western gurus, the big, big beard and so on, and they learn how to behave in a way to attract more people. So they get attracted to guru. Guru will have a problem. An emotional mind always wants a personal God. And in the West, as there are no Vedic deities available in the West, more often than not, they get attached to the gurus. Because personal guru fulfills some of the emotional needs. So it once again relationship with the Lord or with the guru. So the attachment is it begins through mother, father, and guru and the Lord, but it's still a relationship of dependence. Therefore, any emotional bond, is going to bound the person, and prevent the person to free itself from all kinds of dependencies. So what is the climax of Vedanta? God is beyond even personal limitations. The emotional mind can never reach Nirguna Brahman. And therefore, Vedanta becomes a problem. Vairagya becomes a problem for an emotional mind. Therefore, who ever got such a mind is called Stri, female mind. Even a male, if he has got such a mind, is referred in our scripture as a Stri kind of personality. This is the first time of mind, emotional, easily vulnerable to attachment kind of mind. This is so beautiful. I have seen all of that in my Portuguese class, but now I'm reading all of that so freshly that it feels I'm reading it for the first time. And then he's going to go into the next level, the next kind of circumstantial birth conditions that make things more difficult, which is the one of the business people, merchants, and so on. I'm going to stop here. I'm a little bit tired today, and I tomorrow, Lynn, I have some errands to run in town. I want to see with you if we can meet again this coming Wednesday or not.
That works for me.
It does?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll move to Wednesday.
So if anything changes, let me know, okay?
Will do. Thank you.
And then we meet this coming Wednesday, Ishvara willing. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate Om Shanti 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 Om.
Thank you,
Namaste.
Orlando.
Thank you. We meet again Wednesday. Bye bye.